So part 3, try to pick up where part 2 left off, which was the plate that I saw in New York, HYL8446, on a blue Subaru of a woman that pulled in my driveway, pulled out her phone, made a phone call right away, and I hid on the side of the cab. I didn't know what she was there for, but when I made a police report, they called crisis services on me, and I was in a calm, cool manner, and they acted as if almost like I was a criminal, and wouldn't even come near me at first. Like parked 5 feet away from me and was like, "Hold on," and like waited and acted really odd. So from that point, I went to mechanics because I noticed the plexiglass on the dashboard was carved and had black marker where the check engine light should be. So I went to Advance Autos. I got 6 engine error codes. 3 of them were for misfire in cylinder 2. The other 3 were for miscommunication from the powertrain to the computer. And them tires had absolutely no thread. So I texted the pictures to my boss, and he says, "Oh yeah, bring it in and I'll get it fixed or whatever." And I did that, and he didn't have time to do it the day I brought it there. So then I come back like the next day, and he puts on 2 more bald tires on the front, and didn't do anything under the hood as far as those 6 engine error codes. So I went to 3 different mechanics and got statements. At that point, I had just realized that that car was not safe. So not only was my life not, it was endangered, and my passengers were endangered. I had my 15-year-old son in the car with me and didn't know that it wasn't safe. I went to 3 different mechanics, got statements from all of them stating that that car would never pass inspection, even though it had an inspection sticker on it that it passed weeks before they gave it to me. They gave it back to me May 19th, and it said it passed inspection in April. So that makes no sense whatsoever. So when I brought it to the 3rd mechanic on Mavis on Ridge Road in Abbott on June 9th, the 10th they beat me there early in the morning. They took the cab, and I was able to get a piece of paper from Mavis saying that the cab wasn't fit to drive, really. So I fly out to Florida to meet with my brother, who's got a PhD in cybersecurity, who's also a pilot as a hobby because he makes good money. He's got a PhD in cybersecurity. Perfect for what I'm dealing with my phone being hacked, and I know who the hackers are. So he wouldn't meet me when I got down there. His number miraculously got deleted out of my phone, and my battery charge would go from like 80 down to nothing in like 10-15 minutes, which wasn't normal. But the work tablet also did that. It's like they controlled how much I was able to work. So from that point, when I fled out to Florida, my plane goes down in an emergency landing because of some gas or smoke bomb that goes off on the plane. Now, we emergency landed in North Carolina. I have video footage proof of 20-30 paramedics pulling up to the scene on the airstrip in North Carolina. I still have an EKG sticker from the paramedics checking me out at the airport. My Google timeline shows it, everything. But they made like triples or quadruple copies of all my videos and footages and photos to take up storage space in my phone to slow my phone down, which I know is common for people that hack or whatever. You know, they'd slow my device down. You know, if I was to request a Google prompt or whatever, they'd probably get the prompt before I would, which I used to wake up every other morning with Google prompts I never requested. They had some sort of device mirrored to my device. So I bought Google Titan keys, which are here and right here for advanced security, and they are somehow able to unregister the keys and unenroll me in advanced security, breaching my Google account again. I just looked today and I had 6 devices signed in, and I have 2 phones. That's it. So, and I would never have this iPhone if I wasn't told they're harder to hack, but clearly it doesn't matter. The iPhone just makes you aware if you're hacked. Like, I can't sign in on my iPhone. If I go to sign in on my iPhone, I'll show you exactly what happens. So we're gonna go to, let's say, Google Photos, right? This is what happens with iPhone. Sign in. You've been signed out for your protection. We detected suspicious activity which shows that there may be malware on this device. Malware can be used to gain access to your personal account information like your password. Steps to remove malware. See, at least iPhone makes you aware, where Android doesn't. So I'm gonna try to wrap this up quick so that I could show more picture proof and I could mail this phone back to Samsung. At one point, I had no internet on my Samsung Galaxy. None. I take it to AT&T, they hook it up to Wi-Fi. Still no network. I go, they couldn't explain it. I go, give me my phone. And I put a VPN on and I had network all of a sudden. Because this phone used to have hotspot, network, all that. But they took all that away. They just recently gave it back. I think maybe because they knew that I was going to mail it to Samsung. But they still did ruin my screen recorder. Only while I'm on phone calls though. And made it so that there's a big black circle on the screen, which you guys seen in previous videos. But, so I fly out to Florida. My brother won't meet me because he doesn't believe me about being in Florida, because he called and checked with the FAA and they said, I don't know if they told him I wasn't on board and it never emergency landed, or it just never emergency landed. He didn't believe me. And because they made triples and quadruples of the videos and photos, the one video I took of all the paramedics was glitchy. That was one that they replicated. I sent him the original with my Google timeline photos, and I still haven't heard back from my brother, who could have helped me solve all of this, and I could have already been done with all this. And I don't know another human being that is as good as cybersecurity as my brother. Like, I haven't came across one other person that I would know anything close to what he knows. I mean, he's got a PhD in it. So they got upset when I didn't delete the account, because I have stuff in there that doesn't look good for them, which they tampered with, and I have proof of it because I have it backed up on other, SIM chips, SD chips. So they still tampered with it though, and then I start getting stalked. I see a guy in my backyard from 3:30 in the morning till 4:40 a.m. I'm just staring at the door, thinking this guy's gonna break in. He's wearing a black jacket with a white t-shirt. He doesn't break in. Second time it happens, I have a friend over that I have a notarized statement from, and she goes to leave, and I see the silhouette of somebody in the bush behind, and she screams and comes running into the house, and I run outside and I hear them rushing through the bushes, and I couldn't find them. So the third time it happened, I was by myself. I go outside and I see them run through the bush, but then they stop running after about 2 seconds, and I hear right where they stopped. So I pick up a big brick and I throw it over there. And I don't think I hit him because I didn't hear nothing, but right after that brick landed, I hear a noise in the bush behind me. So there was more than one the third time. They flanked me, basically. So I ran my ass inside the apartment. And they've sent me messages from fake Snapchats stating that, like, oh, you're gonna live a life that no one wants to live. And I get emails from mylife.com saying I got negative remarks on my reputation. I had a job working for Hamburg Taxi, and they loved me. They're like, oh, you caught on so quick, yada yada. I was spending my own money to keep their cars clean. I threw it in Liberty's face, not knowing how powerful they were at the time, and I was fired from Hamburg Taxi with no explanation the next day. So I've applied for multiple different jobs, can't get them. My goal is to drive Medicaid cab independently without splitting money with these employers that rip me off and terrorized me across the country. Basically, when I was in Florida, I was non-directly threatened by a guy that had a Florida plate that matched the cab that they garnished me 8 months for, cab 955, and my username, so I thought RZO, but it was really RZQ, and the Q and the O look a lot alike. I gave Port Orange, Florida police the wrong plate number, which I have the Port Orange, Florida police card in my wallet right now that I could pull out and show, since my brother didn't want to believe me about being in Florida. I was definitely in Florida, and I definitely stole a rental car and drove it all the way back to New York and got my security deposit back, which I could show proof of too. Port Orange, Florida police. They covered up me going to Florida real hard. But they knew I made a police report out there, so I don't know why they did that. So, but the bottom line is I flew all the way out there for nothing. Because my brother, who's got the PhD in cybersecurity, wouldn't meet me. He didn't believe me. I don't know if he didn't believe me, or maybe he found out who these people were and didn't want to be involved. In that case, I wouldn't blame him either, because I wouldn't wish this upon anybody. And it was odd because right before I stopped working there, I watched a new driver that was independently driving Medicaid for himself, saying he was having phone issues, he couldn't call the main office, and the manager at Liberty took his phone back room, did something with it. He was like, here, try it now. And it still didn't work. And he called the third time, and then it finally worked. And I'm like, this poor guy has no idea what the hell he's getting himself into. Like, his entire phone is about to be invaded. They're about to know every detail about this guy's life. Every picture in his phone, every text message he writes, everything. But I don't know. I find it ironic that in order to be a cab driver, you're supposed to go to City Hall and get a hacker's license. Now, I wonder if there's some sort of secret code with, the top cab company and, like, law enforcement that states they're allowed to hack your phone and invade your privacy. I don't know. All I know is that I could prove that my phone was hacked, and I could prove that it was my employers that did it. I took away their hold music that they've used for 10 years. They took away my screen recorder because of it. They pretended to be the IRS. They pretended to be car insurance. Now they're bluntly selling car insurance because they don't want it to look like it was a scam when I caught them in a scam. So now they probably have to sell car insurance so that it wasn't a scam phone call. I know my other friend that's also hacked, that they put my cab on her phone. She bought an e-bike off of Facebook and never received it. She got ripped off. and these people are on my Facebook every single day, every day. But I go out there and then I come back, and I was scared up until like maybe a couple hours from New York. And then I'm like, these sick bastards are probably just sitting out there laughing their asses off, thinking that it's funny that they put me through all this. So I flew all the way back home, and I find out though that I had an email address that I never made, because they originally breached me through my Microsoft account, paid for Microsoft Family 365, which I never would, and then they breached everything else in my phone from there. And I was able to pinpoint their location. They were parked at like 6 blocks down the road. I pinpointed them at McKinley Mall, and then called Samsung, and then relocated them and seen that there was 3 dots, one in front of my house and on each side. So they did do things that were frightening. Like I knew that they would probably rather me not be around because of what I have on my phone. But that's why I plan on getting it all out on YouTube and just saying screw it, and then dipping and getting out of state again, because I don't want to live like this. And like I said, I tried to make offers with these people, but these people are in the business for taking money, not giving money. So they're not gonna agree on any amount, and I know what kind of amount it should be for what they put me through. Violate invasion of my house, which I might have a hard time proving, but not really if I could prove that they hacked my phone, and my phone was synced with my surveillance cameras, which coincidentally would go out whenever they broke, whoever broke in my house. My cameras would coincidentally just shut down, and I'd get error codes and not be able to retrieve the footage. So whatever technology they're using some state-of-the-art technology, like they said on my Facebook page, which was the video that I snuffed their hold music away from. But this is going to be the final part, part 3. So realistically, I feel like they made a few attempts at me, or led me to believe that they made attempts at me by telling me to go to 825 Furman Boulevard on June 2nd. On June 7th, I believe it was, which was after I told them I would sign a form to keep it out of legal court. And they said any Medicaid drivers with ME capitalized, directing it to me, because I know no other Medicaid driver got that message, because nobody ever has to sign a form at the main office. It's to swing by the main office, we need your signature on a form. And there was another time too that I was told to go basically to the New York State lottery winnings. So I don't know if they're gonna make it look like I hit the lotto, but that didn't happen. And the second time would be on June 7th, I believe it was, when I had 3 out of 5 lug nuts missing off my tire. So, and then the neighbors have surveillance footage, but said, oh, I don't want lug nuts going off my tire. So these people have a lot of people intimidated. They do. I've had 3 attorneys tell me that we're going to take the case, and then as soon as they found out who it was against, they're like, oh, I want no involvement in that. I'm sorry. So I'm stuck in a loop, calling the Bar Association, calling everywhere, the BBB, I'm calling ACLU, I'm calling everybody. I know I'm gonna have to leave state to get this done, and that's just what I'm gonna do. And if I have to leave these phones behind and get a new flip phone, then that's what I'll do. Because I'll probably get tickets and I can't get it in somebody else's name. I'll probably take a bus and get the hell out of town, and then take a plane from there and go back and see if I could get my brother to somehow meet me or something. I don't know. I don't even know what good it would do now, because now I have internet without a VPN, when months and months went by where I had no network whatsoever. The only thing that they damaged in my phone is that I have no screen recorder while on the phone, But where I left off on part 2, where I saw that HYL 8446 on a blue Subaru and then seeing it on a black Suburban the next day, and it put knots in my stomach and I flew by it, my boss knew that that would make me speed up because he was at the bottom of the Skyway and he cut me off. I was in the left lane flying, he cut me off and stuck his entire head out the window just to make it known that he was there. And I had one of my passengers with me. I'm not going to state his name because at first he was willing to help me. He was actually one of my employees that was physically assaulted by my employer out of the 14. But then there was 15 gunshots that went off next to his daughter's house. So I don't know if he's going to get involved or not. And if he doesn't, I won't hold it against him. I mean, that's something crazy, But all I know is I'm sick of looking over my shoulder, so I'm about to be out and be out without a trace. Leave this phone here, make it look like I'm staying here, and just be out. I got a suitcase packed, ready to roll. So, Liberty Yellow Cab. Like I said, whenever you get a job, especially if it's independent contracting work, do your homework on your employers.